Welcome to episode 91 of How About the Muskies. As always, I'm your host, Connor, once again joined by just Matt. And this is the last time you'll be hearing from us. I did a pause because I was thinking maybe you think it's our last episode. No, last time you're hearing from us before the season starts. Season starts on Wednesday. This is going to be our last preview of like the positional previews where we talk about the centers, as you can see when you clicked on this video. We'll also be talking about the Sacred Heart game on Wednesday, the opening night matchup. But we're going to start with the centers. We'll start right there. Obviously, we have three differently talented centers: Samson Johnson, Tarris Reed Jr., the Michigan transfer, and then Yousouff Singare. Before we get into it, Matt, what's your initial thoughts of this group? Obviously, there's no Klingon in there. There's no Sonogo from the year before. It's definitely probably the least talent. I don't want to use the word least talented for because they're definitely talented, but you know what I'm trying to get at. Like, there's no
Yeah.
Sonogo, there's no Klingon. What's your thoughts on this group?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of question marks around the group, which, we haven't had question marks around the center position or power forward position in quite some time. The list goes on, but there's definitely a lot to learn for these guys. There's definitely a lot to develop. Samson is Samson, you know what you're getting from Samson Senior. Great around the rim, but I feel like the biggest question marks are around Singari and Reed. We saw a little bit of Reed at Michigan, and of course in the scrimmage against URI. But I feel like that will be a closer competition than some may think. I really believe that Sangare has, the potential to potentially slip into that rotation with, how streaky it might be. But I mean, there's nothing for certain yet. But I mean, just hope to see some positive things out of this group.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like you will see positive things from who. I feel like it differs every night because Samson was the backup last year. He's a lob threat. We all know that. As of it looks like he's going to be the starter at least off rip this season. Tarris Reed, great. I mean, not great because Michigan wasn't that great last year, but a solid player for Michigan last year. Great rebounder as we saw in that URI game. They're two completely different players. Samson is the guy who you're going to lob it up to. He's going to finish with dunks and stuff. Tarris Reed, more back to the basket, more rebounds. Samson's more of a shot blocker. So it's a great combo to have. And there's obviously Singare, who I feel like won't really be in the rotation, though. He showed some flashes in the couple of minutes he played at the end against URI. And he showed some flashes last year when he was playing a couple of minutes. It was that St. John's game at home when Klingon was out with an injury. He played a little bit off the bench. But yeah, I feel like having Johnson and Reed as two almost opposite players, I feel like that could be beneficial.
And I feel like it's going to be a little bit of red in the hot hand here. Whoever's on a night could be Reed, could be Samson, but I feel like whoever is making the bigger impact. I feel like we'll play a majority of the minutes, over 30 minutes for sure.
Yeah, and the list for the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Award, like the preseason watch list, came out earlier this week, and I was honestly surprised to see Samson Johnson on there as one of the top 20 centers in the country according to the Basketball Hall of Fame list. I mean, obviously he's very good. He's a great finisher inside, but top 20 in the country, there's a lot of good centers. I mean, no offense to him, he's not going to win this award. You got guys like Hunter Dickinson still on Kansas, but just the fact that he's there, and we haven't done an episode since these all came out. Alex Caravan was on the power forwards list. Liam McNeely was on the small forward list, and Aiden Mahaney was on the shooting guard list. So no point guard this year for us. But I'll take 4 out of 5 after losing all that we did last year. But yeah, point is Sampson's on that list, so clearly they're expecting a big jump from him. I think he will have a big jump. How big still remains to see.
And if you remember a few years ago when Sonogo and Klingon were the partnership there, Samson did get some minutes. I'm pretty sure he was going to be the starting power forward if everything, went right. But he obviously went down with an injury. But I remember that season he was shooting 3-pointers towards the start of the year, and we have not seen that since. But I mean, maybe they've been working on that, trying to stretch the floor. Hurley loves a big man who can, stretch the floor at least a little bit, keep the defense honest. So, I mean, maybe we'll see that back from Samson. There's definitely, like I said, question marks, but it doesn't count out them being able to learn to do new things and to learn a new role.
Yeah, Samson, I feel like he's not a traditional center. I mean, he is 6'10". He's a little skinny. I feel like he came in more of a stretch four than a center when he got here as a freshman. He made 1 3 in his freshman year, but he took 5 in only 68 minutes. Last year, or the year before, I should say, the 2023-24 season, which is not the year before. I'm mixing up my years. But point is, like you mentioned, Matt, he was in the opening night starting lineup before he went down. And that's when Alex Caravan stepped in almost like Lou Gehrig, and he never looked back. But Yeah, he took two threes that season. I believe they were at least one of them was after he came back from that injury. And then last year he played 640 minutes across all 40 games, and he only took two 3-pointers. So he's clearly been told to not take as many threes, which isn't his role on the team last year. It could be more of a role this year, but I don't really think we'll see too much of that, especially with how many shooters we have. Caravan, McNeely, Mahaney, all those guys. We don't really need that to be an option. Well, we do need it to be an option is something we could have. We don't need him to take the threes.
Yeah, and with all the question marks at center position, there are not many question marks, 1 through 4. And I feel like Hurley, that small ball lineup that we saw a little bit last year with Carabin at the 5, might come into play a decent amount. And, the centers could be used sparingly. We really have no idea. We won't know until the game against Sacred Heart on Wednesday, but it's just food for thought.
Yeah, we're almost done talking about these centers. There's one thing I have to get off my chest. We all watched that game now almost like 3 weeks ago against Rhode Island. Feels like it's a lot. Doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but Samson, he only had one rebound. I mean, if you're going to step up as the starting center for what's now the number 3 team in the country, a top team in the nation that wants to win a third straight title, we need you to get more than one rebound. Tarris Reed picked up his slack. He finished with, I believe, I don't have the box in front of me. I think he had 10 rebounds off the bench, which, I mean, as I said, Reed is more of a rebounder than Samson is. But if Samson's going to get one rebound, and it was a defensive rebound, we need him to crash the glass if he's down in the paint because he's not hovering up at the top of the key. He's down there when all those shots are going up. He needs to be more aggressive. I mean, that's just one sample size, one game, an exhibition game at that. But I feel like that's not, I wasn't that surprised to see that. And I feel like that's not a good thing.
And at the end of that exhibition game, that was definitely a point of emphasis for Hurley. The rebounding, that was something he was really kind of torn up about. Well, when you can't find something to be upset about, you got to find anything with Hurley. But that was definitely a point of emphasis, and I wouldn't be surprised if over the past however many weeks since the game, he has made that a point of emphasis at practice. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Samson crashing the boards, especially the offensive boards. We need to see some putbacks from Samson.
Oh yeah, those putback dunks. But yeah, I feel like last year a common theme was, and I feel like we're really bashing Samson Johnson for no reason here in this preview, but I multiple times, multiple occasions last year, I just said out loud, catch the ball, Samson. He would always tap it or like it fall through his hands. It's almost like a baby deer out there. It shouldn't be, but that's the kind of the analysis I'm thinking of. But yeah, I feel like you're right, Matt. The staff they notice that if you don't usually take a lot more bad from the exhibition than good because it's an exhibition. You rather work on the stuff you're bad at. So I feel like he's definitely worked on that. And even if he is not having the best rebounding game, we have Tarris Reed as that option to maybe clean up the glass if we need be. Like you said, going with the hot hand. But yeah, I think that'll do it for the center portion of this preview. We'll pivot over to the Sacred Heart game. We're not going to go too deep into this because honestly, there's not much to say about the first game of the season, except that it is the first game of the season against a MAC school. But you got any players to watch if you had to choose one, Matt? If you guys remember, we always did this last year where we chose one player to watch for the game and see how they perform. Matt, who's your opening night player to watch?
I feel like there are so many. I feel like the first game coming in, there's a lot of names to choose from here. I'm gonna go as sort of alternate route, and I'm just gonna say Jaden Ross. I'm very curious to see what that role looks like for Ross. We saw the flashes in the scrimmage. We've heard all the good news over the summer. I feel like he'll be a really, big time player for this team, and I feel like he kind of needs to be. We don't know what's really going on with Stewart, and development can be, made difficult for certain players. Solo ball, we want to see that consistency. So I'm gonna roll with Jane Ross. I want to see these improvements that we've heard oh so much about and that defensive prowess that he has.
I'm going to go a similar route. I'm going to go Jalen Stewart. And we're recording this early. We're recording this on Sunday. We don't know the status of Liam McNeely, but we're imagining he will at least miss this first game. He's been dealing with that calf injury. So if he does, I feel like Jaden Ross, like you said, he's going to have to step up. Jalen Stewart's another guy who's going to have to step up. And unfortunately, we've heard some negative things about him over the past couple of weeks in regards to his development. But I feel like this is an opportunity to prove Coach Hurley wrong, prove everyone wrong that was a fluke. I could see him. I don't know if he'll be in the starting lineup if McNeely's out. I think it's possible, but I feel like we need to see a solid performance out of him against a school like Sacred Heart because if he can't do it then, why do we expect him to do it against Gonzaga in a few weeks or Texas? So I feel like Stewart really needs to show that although all that talk that Hurley was talking about isn't true, and he's really going to step it up, and he's my player to watch.
And like I mentioned, first game of the season, almost every player on this roster is a player to watch. There's so much to prove for all of them. Like I mentioned, solo ball. You want to see that the beginning of that sophomore year jump. Diarra, where's he going? The big man that we all just talked about, Mahaney, the transfer. It could literally be anybody. So I feel like just watch the game and just kind of decide on your own.
Yeah, you literally choose 10 or 11 guys and give a detailed explanation like we just did. It's a game that UConn should win. It's banner night, second straight year. We're opening up a Gamble with banner night. Should be really exciting. But we're almost done here. I just had this thought because we did it last year, and there's only the two of us, unfortunately. Let's do some rapid fire awards for the upcoming season. So you ready for this, Matt? We'll just do back to back. No explanation needed. Who's the rookie of the year on this team?
McNeely.
I have to agree with
Yeah.
McNeely. Most improved player.
Solo.
Solo for me too. I
Yeah.
promise you that these won't all be the same.
Okay.
Defensive player of the year.
Oof. I'm just gonna go with Samson.
I'm gonna go Hassan Diarra. So that there's a difference there. I was gonna say Samson if you didn't though. So
Okay.
th th
Okay.
some good options there. Uh, we'll go sixth man of the year next.
I'm hoping it's Diarra, but I don't know. So if he isn't a six man, I'll go with Noel.
Oh well. I'm gonna go with. I mean, if Mahaney's on the bench, it's hard not to pick him. What other awards do we got here? Well, we have MVP, but I want to save that for the end. I'm doing this off the dome. I don't
Okay.
have them in front of me. Uh, I don't have any more. Let's do MVP. Who's
Okay.
the MVP of this team?
Solo ball.
Solo ball. I will go Alex Caravan. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not. I was about to give an explanation. We're not doing that here. I want to go Alex Caravan. But yeah, unless you got anything else to talk about Sacred Heart in that loaded matchup, I think we're good here.
I think we're good. Don't want to give too much on the solo ball, but
Yeah. So I don't know how frequently we're going to be doing recaps and previews for these early games against like Sacred Heart and New Hampshire, but we'll try our best to get them out. If they may be some double episodes, it's a lot to do, and the games shouldn't be that exciting or entertaining. I mean, they will be for us, but like you know what I mean. It's going to be hopefully blowouts. If it's not a blowout for some reason, you'll certainly be hearing from us because there's a lot to go over there. But next time you hear from us, probably before the New Hampshire game, we'll probably recap opening night. But until then, thank you guys for watching.